this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Something a little different in the repotting front. I'm going to do a Restrepia. Now I have repotted Restrepias before, but only when they were tiny. I haven't done a big one before. And this one is showing signs of not being happy, like new growths coming out with crinkles on them. That normally means there's a hydration and or humidity problem with Restrepias. The leaves should come out like this, yeah, the right shape. They should not come out like that. So there's a problem. Problem is probably the media is breaking down, therefore the roots are suffering because they are tiny. But we'll have a look. And the other thing with this Restrepia is it puts out a lot of kikis on the end of the growths. There's one there, yeah, and although those silly little wispy bits don't look much, they are actually roots. And these bits can just break off and go in the pot with the other bits, and it makes it bushier. So we'll probably have a few of those to do. So I'm going to do that one. And I'm also going to do this one for two reasons. I can see some new roots, reason number one. But the other reason is I put this in a show last year and they topped the pot up to make it look pretty with unknown bark. And I've never been able to get it all out, and it's right down in between the pseudobulbs and everything, and that means some of the pseudobulbs are partly buried, and you know what happens if you bury pseudobulbs, they normally start to rot. So I just want to get this one out and set it up in its pot better. I mean, it's been in there over a year, so you know, we'll give it a go. But it has got new growths with sheaths on, so we'll give that one a go too. For this stage, to get them out of the pots and you know, just have a look round sort of thing, I don't really need anything, and I don't know what they're going to go in and everything. I don't do that until I get them out. But I have got my scissors soaking in some rubbing alcohol. They worked hard yesterday on many different plants, including a couple of iffy ones. That's important. Sterilise your cutting tools, especially if you've got iffy things like I've got lurking. And also coffee. My repotting, because of my notes, I know what my stuff's potted in and when it was last done. And I've still got some lurking around that are in whatever they're in from when I bought them. And I've got some that are still in the old bark that I had, which breaks down fast. It really was rubbish stuff. So, you know, obviously they're due to be done as soon as I find a suitable time. Restrepias haven't really got a suitable time. I would suggest you don't repot them in the middle of summer, simply because they're going to be under stress anyway because of the heat, and with heat normally goes drier air. Not necessarily in everybody's case, but you know, when a plant's under stress, that's not the best time to repot it. So on that particular one, I'm going to go with the book, Repot Your Plants in Spring. Well, in this case, that's probably a perfectly reasonable time, because, you know, I can see signs of active growth, so okay. Right, we'll get this one out. Let's get me watch off. Don't get that all grubby, do we? We'll get this one out first. I wish I hadn't watered these yesterday, but that's life. The reason I'm getting on with this is my flipping internet connection's just gone out again. It was out for 3 hours yesterday, much to my annoyance, because I am paying for it. And come on, beardy man, get your flipping act together. It's gone off twice this morning. A lot of moss in this. Well, it'll be good to get rid of that and give it a clean up. There's a couple of little old bulbs around the back that can just come off. It's serving no purpose. And this is Prosthechea Green Hornet, this one. Not one of my favourite plants, but it's unusual and I like it. So I'd like it. Yeah, we've got around those new growths, we've got lots of lovely little new roots. So instead of pulling and tearing at it, I now need to start being a bit more careful in that region. Some of the old media might end up having to stay there because those roots look like they're hanging on to it, but I'll see what comes out under the tap. That obviously had some sponge rock in with it last time. But the fact that I repotted it, the one thing I can guarantee that there isn't is that solid mass of sphagnum moss right in the flipping middle, killing all my roots. There's even signs of some new roots coming right down to this point from up here. So yeah, I am going to go very carefully with this, and I'm going to let the tap do the work. So yeah, that's going to get its media washed out rather than torn out. So we'll let that one go as is. Oh, that's some big bits of bark in. See, I mean, even there, look, you can see that's an old root, and yet at the bottom of it, it's branched and has new growing tips. Right down, that was right down near the bottom of the pot. So branching roots is good. So if I damage a tip here and there, they will just branch up higher up. But this is the main root growth area here. That's a mature bulb with a sheath. There's another mature bulb here directly behind it, which is obviously supplementing those roots. And got any other signs of new growth? Not at the moment. So all the new growth is around this side of the plant. So obviously I need to set that one back. I'll take a few of the older bulbs off around the back, you know, silly little things like that. And there's a buried one there. That's naughty on my part. I did that. But yeah, I'll take a couple of these back bulbs off. That'll allow me to get it back against the edge of the pot and allow these new growths plenty of room. So we shall throw that in the sink. That needs a good wash. Now we'll have some fun. Anybody seen a Restrepia come out of a pot before? Well, I have, but not for a hell of a long time. I don't need to worry about getting the tags muddled up, do I? Totally different plants. Right, very, very thin roots on the Restrepias. Very, very thin roots. And they're not all dead. That's good. Well, whether it was a good time or a bad time, it needed to be done. Yeah, the media's going. And again, I think the tap is the best thing to get the worst of that media out. It has still got a bit of moss under there. I mean, this was a relatively young plant when I got it. It was certainly probably only a third of that. But it is showing signs of stress at the moment because the new growths aren't coming out tidy. See, now there's a smashing kiki just hanging off there with two growths and roots. Yeah? So I'll actually, when I come round to the potting bit, when I've cleaned it all up and everything, we'll have a look at taking some of the kikis off and planting them as new little plantlets in and around the main plant, which will go central in the pot. And these little ones will just get poked in round the edge. That's my theory. It can go in one of those pan-shaped pots that I've got, the clear flat shallow ones, because as you can see, that's not a deep-rooted plant. And obviously that, because of the moisture it needs, that will need some moss in with it. Right, we'll have a clean up. And as always, I'll be back. Right, welcome back. Going to do the easy one first. This is Cattleya-like and Oncidium-like in its makeup. You know, pseudobulb's quite Oncidium-like, but it has Cattleya traits. As a consequence, I'm going to take the easy way out and use one of my clay pots. There are reasons for that. One, I've got a lot of these, the small ones. I haven't got so many of the larger ones, and they are going to make life better for me in the future. I'll have full control over hydration. In other words, it will be down to me, and especially in the winter, you know, that means things will still dry fast and, you know, be totally dry in between. So and because of the hassle I had last time getting some wire to hold everything in place, well, I thought we'll preempt it this time. So I've attached 3 pieces of wire low down, and I've chosen places where the gap between the holes is narrow so the wire doesn't show so much. And you have to bear in mind that once the plant's established and got its own hold, these can just be snipped and pulled out the top or pulled out the bottom, depending on how I feel. So this is nothing more than chunky bark I don't have to worry about you know, the plant being stabilised in the media, which is good because most of it's falling out the holes at the moment. Knew that might happen. And I want my new growth section that side of the pot. Let's come over here a bit closer. We'll see the wood for the trees, as they say. So we'll get some down round behind the plant, but the back of the plant isn't going to be doing much from now on. So if those roots aren't even in media, they're just up against the pot, it's not the end of the world. However, this side, where I have got to be careful, is where all those new little roots are. And they are fragile. There's 2 in the sink now, which annoyed me. But yeah, this doesn't need the media packed in tight round the roots, because it's going to get the wire over the top to pull it down onto the media. So I just need to make sure it's touching something. And then those roots will find their way into those gaps. They'll enjoy a bit of air around them, because that media was getting a bit soggy. And quite honestly, that's good enough. It would have been good if I'd looked at the shape of the plant and where the wires are, because now I'm stuck unless I take it all out again. But nonetheless, the wires do lend themselves to being in an appropriate place. That's the leads at the front with the new eyes, so I don't want to get any wire near that bit because there is no point. That's going to be held in place by the new roots. So I'm going to put this wire at the back between those 2 pseudo bulbs and bring it across through that section. This is a bit like tying a mount, only with wire, and strictly speaking I could actually use the fishing line, but I like good sturdy wire when I'm doing this sort of thing. And then all I need to do is give that a twist. I know that seems loose at the moment, I haven't finished yet. Give me a chance. Yeah, so I give that a twist. Trim the ends off so they don't poke my eye out. And then we get the pliers and pull it tight by twisting it. You might think that, what a clever idea. This is a clever idea that for me goes back years, because this is how I would be securing a bonsai in its pot, and I'd be using probably stronger wire than this because I'd be dealing with a tree. But I'm used to doing this. This is an ancient art for me, because I've been keeping bonsai a lot longer than I've been keeping orchids. Okay, now that 3rd wire, quite honestly, is redundant. It's not needed. That 1 wire has done the job. Now let's pull that plant in nice and tight. Yep, that's good enough. And then we'll trim the end of that twist off so that I don't keep poking myself with it. And then just tuck the end down in the pot. There, I can't even see it now. Okay, I can still see the bits on the outside, but yeah, this one can actually come off. It's surplus to requirement, so I can just snip that and pull it out. He says, and pull it out. Come on, mess me about. Other things to do today. So yeah, so I only needed 2 wires. The 3rd one was a fail-safe to be able to come over and wrap around that one and pull, yeah, which would have held the back of the plant down. But as I said, the back of the plant really is supporting bulbs. It's supplying a supporting role, but its roots aren't up to much. Okay, right, that's that one done. And the fact that I had such a good soaking while I was doing it, and it doesn't need watering for a few days now. Right, I'll be back in a minute with what I'm going to do with the Restrepia. Okay, before I actually get going to repot this, I just want to show you the key principle based on how a lot of Restrepias grow. I won't say all because I haven't got all of them, but if you look at this one, that base, that growth there has been taken off the base. The kiki starts here. If you cut there and leave that, it's just going to make the plant look untidy, and that won't ever do anything. But a word of warning, when you take your shoot off from the base, yeah, the sheaths up here where the kiki are need to be gently taken off, and I'll show you why. Because in behind those sheaths there are often little tiny new roots. So if you cut that stem there with the sheath still on, chances are you've just cut off your nice new roots. So basically I take the sheaths off like that so that I can see where the little roots are. Then I can snip it near the base, leaving a little mini root system. Yeah? Let's put that one to one side. There's another one here. And this one's actually got 2 leads on it, so that'll make a nice little plant. You can see there's new root growth coming out all over the place, and again where the sheath was, inside this sheath were all of these little new roots. And again, if I'd snipped the base off before taking the sheath off, I wouldn't have seen them and I'd have cut them all off, and that would be silly. Yeah? So all I can do now is gently tease those roots away from that stem so that I can see what I'm doing. And then I can snip the stem off without damaging the roots. Yay! Okay, so these are new little plants. I mean, if you were into, you know, propagation, that's a plant in its own right. That can be potted and grown on. It would probably look a bit better if it had, say, 3 or 4 of those in a little pot to grow on. Then it would at least look like a reasonable plant. But they will grow on as single plants. And I mean, in time, this will push out new growths from the base. You can see the source of a new growth there. And they can have multiple growths from the base. Yeah? But in addition to that, these 2 new growths are kikis in their own right if you want. Well, they just haven't got good roots yet. Okay, so I just wanted to show that bit first. And now I need to go and sort out what pot I'm going to use and what I'm going to do next. Okay, let's have a go at this Restrepia then. Just as a sidetrack, I've just got all the information through about entering plants in the show on Saturday, because that's my second Orchid Society that I attend when I can, but I haven't really taken an active part in that one. I've got enough active parts with the other one. But yeah, I needed, you know, registration details, plant classes, all that sort of stuff. I've got all that now, so I'll go and have a look round and have a think about what I might take along. I've got the start time and all that sort of stuff, so I'm happy now as far as taking the plants are concerned. Just a quick word on the Prosthechea Green Hornet. That's in a very small pot for the size the plant can get to. But in that case, I am quite happy for that plant to climb out of its pot and attach to the pot. Yeah, I'm happy for that plant to do that. I wouldn't be happy with all plants to do that. Back to the Restrepia. These like moisture. Where they come from is very high humidity, relatively low light levels, although in the UK they'll take higher light levels than you might think. I'd place them personally somewhere between what they say for Phalaenopsis, although I've been told off for keeping mine too dark, and I'd say heading up towards Oncidium light. But you need to watch the heat with these. They will take a bit of heat, they don't like it, a bit like Masdevallias. They don't like it, but they'll tolerate it providing they've got high humidity, and that quite honestly is the key to growing Restrepia as well. If they don't get that high humidity around the plant, around the leaves, then the new growths will suffer and they will crinkle. It's a bit like, you know, the crinkly leaves you can get on Miltoniopsis due to lack of hydration at the roots. Well, Restrepias, they respond in a similar manner for not getting enough hydration and humidity around the leaves themselves. So as I said, there's a fair bit of moss going into this. There's a secondary reason for that. One, they have incredibly fine roots, so I'm using my smallest bark and quite a high percentage of moss. And that should keep their roots nicely hydrated. But come the winter time, they will need to dry a bit in between waterings. They don't want to be kept absolutely soggy when they're not growing much, like all orchids really. So how do you turn what is for a Restrepia a rather deep pot, even though it's a shallow pot, into a shallower pot? Put lumpy stuff in the bottom. If some roots get down in there, it won't be the end of the world. But these have a shallow root run. They don't need deep potting. They grow in very, very dense mossy areas, so their roots don't get a huge amount of air around them like some other orchids. They don't grow that way. A bit of that. To tell you the truth, I'm running out of energy today, and it's not even lunchtime because I used it all up yesterday. I got a hell of a lot done yesterday, and I'm well pleased with what I got done. But yeah, it was heavy on the day. Okay, little tiny fine roots, as you can see. Heavily on the branching, love that, you know, so if you break a root or damage a root, it'll branch out above where you broke it. And there are still a few dead looking roots on there, but it's difficult to tell the dead ones from the live ones. And quite honestly, if a few dead ones go in the pot, it's not the end of the world. The pot's going to be full of moss, and that's going to deteriorate faster than the bark will. So I'm just getting my hand in under the roots so that when I put it down, those little roots are in something. Okay, now this pot is too large, but I'll show you why that doesn't matter in a minute. I'm trying desperately to hold all the leaves up in the air, out the flipping way. And then the roots have spread out nicely across the top of the pot, so that as I put this media in, they're in something, not hanging in the air. And I don't need this pressed down tight. When I water this, that's going to settle it in, because it's a very fine mix basically. Don't bury the base of the plant. Like most orchids, just sitting nicely at the surface. That's all they need. Right, now when I let go of this, it's going to flop. Yeah? So it looked like the pot was too big. Now suddenly it doesn't. And what have I just created? Given that that compost media needs to stay quite moist, and certainly when this is actively growing, soon, very moist quite honestly, like Masdevallias, they need moisture around their roots. So it's going to get watered quite often. And that surface area of the pot is going to be giving off a little microclimate of humidity for this plant. I mean, my humidity doesn't drop down much anyway, but that's just an extra little bit for it. Let me just give that a gentle settle. I don't want to go mad. Okay, so that's the plant done. Now we've got the kikis. And there's quite a few. And as I said, there's a good reason for that. Now we have Roger's kiki planter, especially for Restrepias. And because those roots are quite long around the stem, there's some more at the base, but they are long and thin. And the easiest way to plant them is to make a hole. This is a bit more like your traditional gardening, isn't it? You know, planting cuttings off of, you know, things like geraniums and fuchsias and the like. But it just needs a hole that's relatively deep so that those roots can go in. And if the tips break, it's not the end of the world because they branch. And then just dib around it like that. Doesn't matter if it seems loose, it will soon grow and attach itself. And I'm just going to dot these around basically. Just random placement around the pot where there isn't a main plant basically. So I'm just going around the edge. Most of those roots are pointing upwards, and because of the lack of humidity, yeah, they've dried. So I'll just break those off. It'll grow new ones, don't worry. Once these get in contact with media, they grow. Just like a cutting, that's all it is. And there's not a lot of space around this side for kikis because this is where the main new growth on the main plant is. But I can see some space for one down there. Again, just gently poke it in. When I water this, it will settle it all around those kikis. So that one came straight out of the media. That didn't stay there long, did it? Quite honestly, this would be better done with wet media. I know I don't normally repot with wet media, but for the sake of these kikis, if this media was wet, it would hang together better. So in this case, that might have been a good idea. Too late now. That's a nice little plant, yeah. Nice little fresh new roots on the end. Yep, that'll take off. Well, I can find a hole to poke it in, of course. We're running short now because quite a few kikis on this one. They don't all grow kikis as well as this one does. This one is a prolific kiki grower. You know, like some other plants, some dendrobiums just chuck out kikis like, well, you can't stop the flipping things. Again, a few aerial dead roots that have died off, they serve no purpose. But it's these lovely little new green ones that need getting down in some media, get some moisture around them, and they take off like little rockets. Stick my finger in on that one, or that's just going to fall over. There we go. They all lean against each other anyway. I'm running out of room for kikis, but there's a big gap there. Typical, right where I want to put the kiki is the only big piece of bark. That needs hoiking out the way. You often find when you plant these kikis that the leaf at the base of the kiki will die. Not always, but a lot of the time it does, because to plant the kiki properly, you're actually burying half of that leaf, and they do often die off. But don't worry about that, it will shoot out from that base point. Yeah, so the fact that the older leaf dies off really isn't the end of the world. It does make the plant look a bit untidy for a while until you, I mean, eventually the old leaves, if they die, they will rot off at ground level, and they just pull off with your fingers. You know, you can just pull them out because they do look a bit untidy when they go like that. Right, what have we got left? One. Good. Come on, there must be a gap somewhere. Yeah, last one in there. And then this one will get a good soak immediately, so that these kikis settle in and the bark itself settles down. And, you know, unlike that Prosthechea over there, because that got soaked in the cleaning up process and washing the roots, that doesn't need any moisture around the roots for a day or two, so that can just sit in the dry bark for a while. There we go. That's it. As I said, I don't need to worry about the tags. That's even got a new flower coming over here, and another one there. So this one blooms on and off all the time. So that's it. That's all it's going to get, and then it'll get an absolute good soak and back in the grow room. Yeah? And I don't think that's going to fit in its clay pot anymore, because mind you, it doesn't need it quite so much this time. So there we go, a Restrepia complete with kikis, cuttings, leaf joint cuttings, whatever you want to call them, but whatever they're called, they do actually work, and you can get new plants going quite easily from ones like this that grow in this pattern. Not all Restrepias do. Some of them have got quite a tidy little base plant, you know, with one set of leaves, and the leaf is at the end of the growth, and that's all there ever is. And then the blooms come out from that point at the base of the leaf on the end of the growth, like here. Okay, yeah, don't think I'm going to repot anything else today. As I said, I'm running out of energy, and I've got quite a few of my resting dendrobiums and others that are going to get mounted, and I've got to sort out things to mount them on, which I am getting desperately short of. So, see you again next time then, and Restrepias are rewarding little plants. I emphasise little, but some of the blooms on some Restrepias can get larger and lend themselves nicer to being viewed. The blooms on this one are quite tiny but very, very colourful. Brilliant gold yellow with good red stripes. So this is a smashing little one. And this is, because I haven't actually said, Falkenbergii. That came from Burnham's originally. Probably less than half the size of that plant when I got it. So you can see they do progress quite well. And get them right and they grow pretty fast. There we go then, a couple of different ones. See you again next time.